I just finished recording with Dr. Ellen on Rock Your Midlife. It was an awesome experience. We had a great conversation. We didn't even have enough time. We were just getting going. We were just getting warmed up. So I hope she has me back again. Please go ahead and listen. It was an awesome conversation. We talked about a lot of different things, how we're socialized, what midlife is actually like compared to what they tell us it's like. And so make sure that you give it a listen.
Welcome to the Rock Your Midlife podcast, your transformative sanctuary designed to guide you through self-discovery and provide the tools you need to find your purpose and navigate life authentically. Whether you want to optimize your health, boost your happiness, or deepen your self-love, this podcast is your ultimate toolkit. Welcome to Rock Your Midlife. I'm Dr. Ellen, the Midlife Whisperer, and I am thrilled that you are here today because we have another badass show for you. My guest is midlife transformation coach and self-defense instructor, Alicia Reitz. And Alicia is going to dive into issues that have shaped our lives as midlife women. You know, we were socialized, I don't know about you, we were socialized to be polite, skinny, and weak. And now it is time to reclaim our effing power. We're going to explore how you can take up space, use your voice, and embrace your strength as you move into your next decades. So I hope you'll join us in breaking the silence and forging a new path, because each and every single one of us, when we demand to be seen and heard and take our power back, we are making a huge difference in the world. And before I bring Alicia on, I want to share one of my favorite poems from poet Marie Oliver, who says, "You do not have to be good." I'll say that again. You do not have to be good. How many of us were socialized to be good? You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. And if you are listening, you have been fed a pack of lies. I was fed this pack of lies where we were fed all of this information about diet culture and body image, that the most important thing about a woman is her looks. And unless you are skinny and you are young, you are not attractive. And that is total BS. You do not have to be a stick to be attractive. In fact, I think all of those supermodels of the 90s that we remember are not attractive. And you don't have to be young to be attractive. But we've been fed this pack of lies because it entraps us. I remember, as a dietitian, going to sleep at night, counting my calories, really counting my calories, wondering, did I eat too much today? Getting on the scale in the morning, judging myself, looking at myself in the mirror, and no matter what I did, how much I worked out, how little I ate, I never felt good about my body. So we were fed this diet culture and body image stuff. I remember being in college and we would go to the rooftop lounge and we would do this Jane Fonda aerobics workout. And then we would, go and have supper and we would all be sitting there eating our salads and debating about whether or not we deserve to have the frozen yogurt. So this diet culture and body image really fed this whole sense that we're not worthy. We have to be a certain way. We have to be good. Then there was that you've got to have it all, or you can have it all myth. And I don't know if you remember the Anjali woman who was supposed to be, I'll bring home the bacon and fry it up in a pan and never let you forget you're a man. Like she was supposed to be hot and sexy and ready for sex at any moment. And then she's going to put the kids to bed when she came home after working like an 8-10 hour day. So this myth of having it all is absolutely exhausting. And I think this diet culture, body image combined with this myth of having it all really had a negative impact on our mental health. I don't know about you, but I walked around like with this, hidden depression. I was like depressed and sad and anxious all the time until I started working on myself and discovered self-compassion and left a marriage that wasn't working and did a lot of the work that I do with my clients. I had very poor mental health. I was on antidepressants. I really was not happy, but I looked great. I was like, okay, I'm smiling. What is called perfectly hidden depression. And so a lot of Gen X and baby boomer women, we, have this dual need to have a career and also to be like perfect moms and perfect wives and have perfect bodies. And it's exhausting. And we're shoving our emotions down instead of like talking about it and feeling our feelings. When you shove your emotion down, what happens is you get depressed or, something triggers you and all of a sudden you start worrying and feeling anxious. So it's had a huge negative impact on our mental health. And then you hit up against menopause, right? So you've got I'm not eating enough. I'm not sleeping. I'm like working my butt off and my mental health isn't working. And then all of a sudden my estrogen starts to go nuts, going up and down. And you're on this roller coaster. I think a lot of us who have been through menopause or are going through menopause, it's the moment where we're just like, wait a minute, it's not working. Can't do this. And thank God we are talking about it. We are talking about menopause and we're saying that this is not okay. This is not normal. We want solutions, and there are solutions. There are lifestyle changes like changing your diet, moving your body, getting sleep, working on your stress, and talking to your doctor to see if something like hormone replacement therapy is right for you. But, menopause really had been a taboo subject, and now we are talking about it, but it creates this perfect storm, when you have been dieting and you've been to this negative body image place and this myth of having it all and your negative impact on your mental health, then you hit up against menopause and just you realize, gosh, something's got to change. And so, what we want to do today is really reclaim our space and our voice. And you have a voice. So often, we do it to ourselves. We stay really small. We lose our confidence. And when every single one of us stands up and says, you know what, I have a purpose. I'm important. I can feel good. I can be confident. We are sending that message out to all of us because we are all in this together. One thing I love about the social media space is that we're not competing with each other. We are all sisters and we are all working together to change the socialization of midlife women. So now we're going to really get into it with my guest, and she is a fireball. We met on Instagram. If you're not following her, she is Alicia Reitz. Did I pronounce your name right, Alicia?
It's rights like
Rights.
women's and
Like
and
women's
civil.
rights.
Yeah.
Okay. Alicia writes, and she is a transformational coach. She is a dancer. She is a martial artist, and she is a world traveler. She was a high school teacher for 16 years, and she retired early to create a new narrative around women and aging. And I encourage you to follow her. She is it Angel Fit?
Angelish fit.
Angelish Fit. Angelish Fit. She's
Yeah.
just amazing. Her message is so powerful. Well, welcome to Rock Your Midlife, Alicia. So great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so thrilled. We've been connected on Instagram for quite a while, and I've been watching your content. You've been watching my content. It's so true what you say about women in midlife. That competition goes away. It's about, creating that sisterhood and lifting each other up and encouraging each other. And it's been such an awesome thing to be in the space and to meet people like you that are showing women alternatives to sort of slinking away in the night and rocking away waiting for the end, right? So it was so refreshing to come across your page and to talk with you, and I'm so thrilled to be here with you today and have this chat for sure.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the work that you're doing. So let's just first talk about, how did you get started in teaching? I know for women, like, how many choices did we really have, right? It's like nurse, teacher. For me, it was kind of like doctor, lawyer, but then I was still supposed to like get married and have the kids and do all those things. But how did you become a teacher?
Thank you for asking that. I actually I my mother's a teacher, my brother's a teacher, all of my mom's friends were teachers, and it was the last thing I wanted to do. It's like, nope, not me. And my I went to university for kinesiology with an eye towards medical school. I did want to be a doctor. I wanted to be Meg Ryan in City of Angels. You know how I don't know if you've seen
Yeah.
that movie that she did with Nicolas Cage, and she was like a single heart surgeon, and she rode her bike to the hospital every day, and she was just super cool. And I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to be a surgeon. And just, I wasn't concerned with having kids or getting married or anything like that, even though that was what was expected of me. And I actually did meet someone while I was in school, and we did get married quite quickly and had a couple of kids. And it was after my second son was born, I was like, I don't think that medical school is going to be the move, because, and nobody told me that I needed to stay home or I needed to do this, but I thought my kids were super, super cool, and I really loved spending time with them. So I wanted something that was a little bit more family friendly. And so um, teaching kinesiology, dance, all the different things that I was passionate about was a nice option for me at the time. And it was interesting. You were talking about having it all. I think sometimes you can have it all, just not all at the same time. So that was, and I actually found that I fell in love with teaching and working with students and watching their transformation and seeing them develop was really, really rewarding for a long time. And so I loved my teaching job. It was an amazing career. But things started to go downhill around 2018, and then when COVID hit, it was just it's an unrecognizable system right now.
Yeah,
So
it's really hard, particularly with, all of the media that's happening and kids and their phones and all of
mm,
it. It makes it very, very difficult. I wanted to pick up on something you said, you can have it all, but not all at once. And I guess that what
mhm,
if you're listening, I want to say that like the second adulthood, this time sort of I feel like you get through this sort of it's your 50s, right? This sort of
mm,
early mid 50s going through menopause, maybe late 40s, and it's really like being in that chrysalis, being, in that cocoon. And if you can get through it and do the transformational work with your body, your mind, your heart, your spirit, your, mid late 50s into the 60s, I know I'm having so much fun. Like I just feel like I don't know, like I'm aging in reverse and I'm just having fun. I feel like a kid again. I don't even know what to use, old, or I feel vibrant and playful and sexy and just having the time of my life. So I think that, we're really reframing this time. If you can get over your BS, the BS stories that you have been fed, and do that, let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. Because I think our generation, we've got two of these Chiron wounds. Chiron is the wounded healer planet. We've got the people pleaser for some of us. And then we've got the not enough, this unworthiness shadow that is there. And so we run around in circles trying to please other people, thinking that's going to make us happy. And then we also, do this, I am not good enough. And so we don't do the things that would truly make us happy. Have you found that with your sort of clients and the transformational work you're doing with people?
absolutely. And even in myself, I think that's where it starts. Is you talked in your intro about how midlife and menopause is sort of this big secret as we're growing up, and this big sort of amorphous thing that like everybody's supposed to be afraid of and trying to avoid at all costs. And it's just this, everything's over. And I remember as a young girl and as a teenage girl, my mother and her friends and my aunts and stuff all like whispering about it, and it was just this awful thing that I thought I don't ever want to experience that. And it, what society and what we kind of grew up believing versus the experience that you're describing and what I've experienced myself, same thing has been, if you can take care of yourself and stop people pleasing, because that is a form of self-abandonment, is just pleasing other people and putting yourself last. And so many women, we get rewarded by so many, in so many spaces in our lives, for that people pleasing. It's a tough habit to break. But when you start to, I was terrified to turn 50. I thought everything was just gonna start falling apart. The walls will cave in, and and I had a very similar experience to what you talked about, is like your mind opens up and your heart opens up, and you start realizing that you can set boundaries and still be kind, but showing kindness to yourself is important too. And we were never taught to do that. And I feel like I'm going to be 53 next month. And I feel like I am more myself now than I've ever been in my entire life. And and midlife becomes this expansive time of like potentially what, 3 or 4 decades of experience and adventure and learning. And if you've had children or whatever, they're adults now, they have their own lives, and so you have this time and space to really learn about you and what you want to do and what you want to learn and what your next challenges are going to be. And with my clients, I think a lot of them felt the same way. And when we start to work on the basic things that you talked about, sleep, eating well, stress reduction, movement, all of that, intentionality, when all of those things are on the ground, when all those four wheels are on the ground, there's no limit to what you can do at that point. Because I think, you know, it just opens up. It's like buying you more time.
Yeah, it's so
And
true.
people always talk
Yeah.
about, oh, life is so short, life's so short. No, ma'am, life is long. So you need to have a good time here because it's it's there's a lot of time for you to evolve and have whatever you do, whatever you want to do, really. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, no, it's okay. No, I love what you had to say. I want to pick up a couple of things, but the self-kindness, that was a game changer for me. I think we need to reverse the golden rule that we need to treat ourselves the way we treat other people, right? We need to, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
whole point of self-compassion, which was a huge game changer for me, is learning to treat myself the way I do a good friend. And once you do that, you're like, oh, okay, it helps when I am suffering, right? If I'm going through something, whether it's empty nest, divorce, for me, it was empty nest, divorce, blindness, breast cancer. I've got this self-compassion life vest that I can be there and say, hey, sweetheart, it's okay. I'm here for you. But then it's also a parachute when you want to, when I went to Costa Rica with my man, oh, I think like a year and a half ago, I was pretty scared. I hadn't sort of been to a foreign country in a while because of COVID and everything. And then we ended up buying a house, like going to a foreign country and just kind of spontaneously buying a house. But it was like, okay, if I make a mistake, my heart was like, yeah, do this. I love this country. I love this place. It's fabulous. But then you've got this self-compassion. Like you can, I think midlife is the time to take that leap, to jump out of that airplane and land and do something new, so that when you look back on your life, you're not like, oh my God, I, like you said, it's long, but like I don't want to get to be, I'm much more afraid of getting to be 80 and 90 and looking back and going, why didn't you do that thing? Why didn't you do that traveling, create those courses, products, do those things, write that book? Do you find that yourself too? That is there like a little bit of a fear, like I don't want to have regrets?
Yeah, I mean, I don't ever regret the things I did. Like, I feel like when you talk to people that are in the late stages of their life, they only regret the things they didn't do. And I'm with you. I don't want to live that kind of life. I met the love of my life at 45. And I would never imagine that. We've been together 7 years now, and we've traveled the world together. We've grown together. We've supported each other, encouraged each other. We've both changed careers a couple of times. And it's an amazing thing. If somebody would have told me in my 20s that that would have happened, I'd be like, that is crazy. And I think, um, you know, when you talk about self-compassion and taking those chances and taking those opportunities, because as long as you trust yourself, that it's like, I'm going to be okay no matter what. If this is a wrong choice, I'll make a different choice. And I think the one of the major things that I help my clients get over through this process is that negative self-talk, that that bully that's in your head
Mm.
all the time. And that's, I think, is a holdover from growing up in the 80s and the 90s, and the things that we were told and the things that we experienced. Like, I was dieting with my mom when I was 12 and 13 years old. Like, that
It's
should
a
never
bonding
happen.
experience, right? Like we would, even like
Yeah.
last night, I'm
Let's
taking
hate
a,
our bodies together. Like,
yeah, even last night I was taking a pottery class, and everybody was talking about diets. And I was kind of trying to help them, like, have you thought about trying this and eating this? And all they were talking about was like all the diets that they'd been on. And it was just, we do this fat talk, we do this, diet culture. It's a way that we've been taught to bond. And it's like,
mm,
enough already. Can't we like focus on other things? It is. So let's talk a little bit about that. What was the result of all of this toxic diet and exercise culture of the 80s and the 90s?
wow. I I had an undiagnosed, I believe, I had an undiagnosed eating disorder when I between the ages of 19 and 22. And I was living on like Coca-Cola and cigarettes, and I was exercising, doing, I don't know if you get this over there. This is kind of a Canadian thing. We had like 20-minute workout. Did you ever get that where you
No, I
were?
don't think so.
It was almost like softcore porn, like these women, and it was on City TV in Toronto. And it was like aerobics basically with really, really sketchy shots,
We had the Jane
of
Fonda and all that stuff with the
it was
leotards and
similar to
yeah.
that. It was similar to that. But I would do that, it was really high intensity aerobic exercise. I would do like three of them a day. I would barely eat. And it wasn't until I found um, lifting weights that finally pulled me out of that for the most part. Then, of course, you could argue like if you're competing and stuff like that, that hides a lot of disordered eating and that kind of stuff. But that was the first time I really thought about building myself up rather than making myself smaller.
Mm.
And I still think, I think we still have days. My partner will talk to me, oh, you got your dysmorphia glasses on today, where, there's just days where you're like, I just feel like a hunk of cottage cheese with a head. Like it's just, and I think part of that is, we were constantly just looking at ourselves and assessing ourselves. And because so much of our worth was tied up in how we looked, how skinny we were, how little we could eat, how much control we had, like all of those things, it didn't matter that I was killing myself with cigarettes and Coca-Cola, like that didn't matter. Was I skinny enough though? Right. Um, so I think that a lot of the clients that I work with are dealing with that same programming where, your worth was embedded in how skinny you were, no matter whether you just had a baby or you had a new career you're working on, or there was something going on in your life, didn't matter. If you were skinny enough, you had all your shit together.
You
And
know,
that was
it's
the only metric by
it
which,
still is so much. Like I'm
yeah.
so like I keep posting things like can we not focus on weight? Like I meet these amazing women and like what's your biggest issue? My weight, my weight, my weight. First of all, you don't have as much control over that number, and that number really doesn't matter. And I'm just wanting to say, if you're listening, focus on your health and your happiness and let the scale go where it is. But it's such a control issue. And it is ironic that we wanted to disappear. I mean, I had eating disorders before people knew what they were. Everyone was like, yeah, right on, you're skinny, good for you. And I became this dietitian who was like, I'm going to help everybody be skinny. And then I realized that it's the media that is controlling women, that is showing us images that are impossible to achieve, selling us BS solutions. I see them all the time on my feed, these, supplements and exercise regimes that aren't going to get you where you want to be. This kind of like, 3 weeks to a beach body, just go to the beach, just put a bathing suit on. You have a beach body. You don't need it, but it is really toxic. And I know what I help women do is the self-compassion piece. If you're listening and you're like, oh my God, this sounds like me. Put your hand on your heart and just give yourself a moment of compassion because of how hard it is to be a woman who grew up, in the 80s and the 90s with these images of perfection and all of this pressure to be thin and realize that it's not the most important thing about you. And I think that's a big freedom that comes. And I see a lot of women, particularly those of us who are kind of entering our 60s, where we're like, I feel great. Like show up in a two-piece and I didn't wear a two-piece till I hit 60. I was too
Wow.
self-conscious to wear a two-piece bathing suit. Even when I was a personal fitness trainer, like, your story resonated, working out 4 to 6 hours a day with all my clients, all of us complaining about how much we hated our bodies, thinking that if we somehow had the perfect body, we would love ourselves. And then I found self-compassion. And now, I go to Costa Rica for half the year and it's like, of course you're going to like just be comfortable. And I really love my body. So if you're listening, you can change, but it's not about changing your body. It's not about chasing skinny. It's really about learning to love yourself and also developing other aspects of yourself. Throw all your diet books away and learn something new. I picked up the ukulele and I'm taking pottery and I'm learning Spanish. Learn something new because what that does is you build self-efficacy, self-esteem. You feel good about yourself. You focus your brain on other things. Let's like stop focusing so much on that number. So let's talk a little bit about being a badass in martial arts, because I know that's one of your
Okay.
passions, and talking about learning something new. And I hope you guys are watching Alicia on YouTube. If not, check out the YouTube if you're listening to the podcast, because you just look fabulous. I mean, I have to say, you're wearing this great one shoulder yellow top, like it's like kind of a tube top thing going on, and you just look amazing. So tell us about martial arts. Like, what do you teach? How did you learn? I know you've got a pretty intense story of how you found it and what people are going to learn from your course.
Thank you so much for that. You look fabulous too, by the way.
Thank you.
And I liked what you said about um, focusing on other things. And I think if I was to pull out an overarching theme from my teaching career, it would be I was teaching teenage girls how to focus on what their body can do rather than what it looks like. And I think that's been a big thing for the last probably 15 years or so of my life is like, you know, and as we move into our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, it's about being grateful for what you're able to do. Like the adventures that you're able to go on, the travel you can do, the things that you can learn, the activities that you can undertake, because your body allows you to do that. So when I was 40 years old, I got divorced, and um, and I needed something. It was, everyone that's been through a divorce, I tell everybody the same thing. Getting divorced sucks. Being divorced is pretty good, but it's really a rough time when you're going through all that. And I came out a little bit, not literally battered, but like emotionally battered. And I felt like I needed a physical challenge, an emotional challenge. And so I found something called Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And I was telling my coach this the other day. It was literally like a Groupon that I saw in the paper, where you would get 8 weeks of training and they'd give you a gi and everything that you needed. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to try this. And it might be a good place to meet men too, just in case. And it wasn't, but I, I took myself to this, immersed myself in this martial art, which, if you're not familiar, if anybody has watched UFC, you will see this. Anytime a fight goes to the ground, that's usually when people start using Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And what it is, it's using technique and leverage to best a smaller opponent, or a larger opponent. So it would be things like choke holds, shoulder locks, wrist locks, knee bars, arm bars, anything like that. It's joint manipulation and chokes to get your opponent to tap out, which basically acknowledges, you could have killed me, but you didn't, so we're good. Let's reset. And it changed me physically, because it was about learning to move my body and use my body in a completely new way. I had been a dancer previously for 12 years. I had 12 years of dance training, and I taught that at school as well. I'd been lifting weights since I was 19. So 20 years, I'd done yoga, all kinds of stuff. So this was completely different. And it was really, psychologically, it was different, because all of a sudden, what do you do when you have a 185-pound man sitting on your torso trying to choke you unconscious in a friendly way, in a training environment? And it starts to, I call it Terminator brain. I'm sure everybody's seen the original Terminator, where there's a scene where he's trying to figure out what to do. There's a situation and you can see his display, and he's got all these options in front of him. None of them are emotional. None of them there's no panic. There's no nothing. It's like, this is the situation. Here are your options. And as a newly single woman, raising a couple of sons, living alone, navigating all of that, there's a lot of room for panic and anxiety in that kind of new environment. And so training jujitsu taught me to have neutral views of what was happening in my life. It's like, things are going to come up. There's no need to panic. Assess the situation, look at my options, choose one. And so it started to change the way my brain worked. It changed the way my body worked. It changed the way I felt about being a 5-foot tiny little woman walking the world by herself, for the most part. And and then I decided that I wanted every woman to learn this. So I designed a course, I created a course in my high school to teach 16 and 17-year-old girls Brazilian Jiu Jitsu self defense and fundamental Jiu Jitsu, which would include attacks and things like that, to teach them that same confidence and that same calmness and that same self compassion and body image and self esteem that I had the opportunity to get. I wanted to bring that to as many people as I could. So, and for 8 years, that course was like wildly popular. It was really, really fun. It was, I, for many, many years, half my schedule was teaching martial arts to teenage girls, and the other half was teaching dance, which was another sort of mode of appreciating what your body can do and being creative and expressive and not focusing. I mean, yes, of course, there's an aesthetic to that, but um, same thing as a bikini body, you're a dancer too. You don't have to look like a prima ballerina to be a dancer, right? So so that's kind of, I would say it's a long story short, but it's just a long story.
Yeah, and now you're offering
So
it, which is super exciting. If people want to take your course, which is super reasonable, an amazing course. I think I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. It sounds incredible. How do people get the course?
thank you. I was doing in-person seminars and it was just, it became logistically, it's difficult. And so I thought I would take my course and my seminar and just pack it into one online product that people can get. It's great for people who want to move out. It's great for women who travel alone for business or pleasure, for kids going off to college and spending time on campuses and things like that. So it's just a standalone. There's mindset tips and strategies to stay safer in different areas of their lives. There's conditioning workouts to sort of teach you the fundamental movement patterns and to get your strength and endurance up for that. And then simple, effective techniques that you can learn step by step to address some of the most common scenarios that people would find themselves in. And there's actually a link in my Instagram bio that you can get it there. If you want a little sneak peek, you can message me, self defense, and I can send you a little sneak peek, and then we can talk about it from there if people have any questions. But it is available now. I'm super excited about it. I'm very proud of it. It's something that so many of us have dealt with assault in our pasts, unfortunately, because that's another way we were socialized. Is like
Right.
I think many of us
Date
were
rape was
assaulted.
okay. I
It
mean,
was
I
okay.
was
I mean,
there. It was like you just, you were at a party and all of a sudden you were in a room with someone who was sort of friendly. And then all of a sudden it went somewhere and we didn't talk about it. So I appreciate you doing this. So again, your link in Instagram and TikTok, and I'll put all of this in the show notes if you want to check out Alicia's course. Where do people find you?
on Instagram at Angelish Fit, and on TikTok it's at Angelish_fit.
Okay.
I don't have the link in my TikTok bio right now. I will put it there, but there is one there because TikTok's a little bit funny about external links and stuff like that. I got banned last year to putting a Bitly link in my bio, so I'm a little careful with that. But on Instagram, there's one link in my bio, and right now it's the self defense course
All right. It's
access.
Angel Fit, and you can get a taste of that. I'm
Angelish
gonna
Fit.
Angelish Fit. So it's Angel, and then it's Ish, and then Fit, and the information will
Yeah.
be in the show notes. And thank you, Alicia, for joining us. I think taking that class is such a good idea. I know for me, one of the big other pivots besides the self-compassion is when I, got diagnosed with breast cancer. I was on my mat doing yoga and I was feeling so much shame, so much fear, so much anxiety. And then I had this other thought came into my mind that was 99.9% of your body is working just fine. And there's a
Wow.
small little bit that we need to obliterate. And then the rest of your body is amazing. So I think the bottom line here is that if you're, struggling with body image, struggling with eating, struggling with, just feeling good about yourself, body, mind, heart, and spirit, do something new. Take a new class. Check out Alicia's martial arts class. I think that it will help you to feel more confident. I've got lots of resources as well as my 10 tips to rock your midlife on my website, themidlifewhisperer.com. But I think that you really can take back your space, and even just to motivate you, when one woman, each of us, stands up and just says, oh my God, this isn't my fault that I feel this way. It's the way I've been socialized to be small, and says, you know what, I'm going to escape from my box and I'm going to speak up. I'm going to learn how to really appreciate my amazing body. I'm going to throw out all of these BS messages around aging, right? Like, aging is not about like being a little old lady in a rocking chair. You can feel incredible whenever I go. I have eye issues, so I'm always in these spaces with older people, and inevitably everyone's on a walker saying, don't get old, don't get old. My parents are 92 and 93, and they have all their faculties. My dad still drives. They're independent. My mom reads like 15 books a week. So all of these things that we've been taught about our bodies and about, our minds, it's totally as if you are living and breathing, there is a lot more going right in your body and your mind and your life than wrong. So like, go grasp the positive. Go check out Alicia at Angelish Fit on Instagram and Angelish_fit on TikTok. Alicia, thank you so much for being here. I've really had an amazing time. We've got to do this again. It went by too fast.
It certainly did. I don't know where it went, but thank you very much for having me. I would come back and talk to you anytime. I love what you're doing. I think it's so inspiring for women to see you and hear what you have to say. And it was an honor to be on here with you today. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you all for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode of Rock Your Midlife. Welcome to the Rock Your Midlife podcast, your transformative sanctuary designed to guide you through self-discovery and provide the tools you need to find your purpose and navigate life authentically. Whether you want to optimize your health, boost your happiness, or deepen your self-love, this podcast is your ultimate toolkit.